Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 1995 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. Up front is a 4.6 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Eldorado convertible because this is not a custom convertible, but these are very, very rare. What you would do if you wanted a convertible Eldorado in 1995 was you would go into the Cadillac dealer and say, hey, I want an Eldorado with this color, this interior, and I would like it a convertible. And so Cadillac would go, okay, thank you for your money, build the car, and then send the car off to coach builders who would then chop the roof off of your 0-mile Cadillac and then send it to you with a convertible contraption in it. So these were available at Cadillac dealers, but would I call them factory convertibles? I don't know. You can be the judge of that. There's not many on the road today, and so I'm excited to share this one with you in this video. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 4.6 liter V8 under the hood. Well, as you may have guessed, this vehicle is already on to its second engine. This engine was known as the North Star V8 and kind of left a sour taste in a lot of Cadillac owners' mouths. Basically, in this era, the late 90s, they had head stud issues, which were pretty catastrophic. By the early 2000s, they had pretty much remedied these issues, but the damage was already done and the North Star name was already drug through the mud. When they work, North Star engines are wonderful. They're smooth, they make good torque, they make good power, and I enjoy driving them. But as I explained in a DeVille video, it's like getting a massage next to a handgun. Probably nothing will happen, but there's a high potential for something catastrophic. And that's how I feel about these V8s. Like I said, paired to it 4-speed auto, doing the job almost 30 years later, so, you know, it's fine. Can't really complain. And last but not least, the Eldorado is front-wheel drive, as most Cadillacs were in the 90s. How does it feel to drive the Cadillac Eldorado convertible? Well, besides the air running through my luscious locks, it's a very smooth, very comfortable driving experience. This car absolutely floats over bumps like a Cadillac should. It doesn't lose any of its Cadillac-ness by removing the top. It actually, some would say, enhances it. I actually really enjoy having the top down in the Cadillac. Feels like I'm piloting a boat rather than an actual automobile, and that's a nice spot to be in. Visibility obviously is great. You don't have a roof and there's very little blind spots, and it just is a good time. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me I have analog gauges. So off to the left is the speedometer, up in the center is fuel, and off to the right is my tachometer. However, to the left and right we do have digital buttons. So to the left we have a huge information gauge. We could look at our average fuel economy, engine metrics, trip, reset, timer, information, all of these wonderful buttons that are very, very late 80s, early 90s. Love to see that. And off to the right, this is actually where you'll find your air conditioning and heating options. So we have Econ fan speed, defroster, and things like that. Very, very cool mix of technologies here. Would have loved to have seen digital gauges, but not the end of the world. On the steering wheel, we don't have anything besides an airbag. We don't get any forward-facing buttons or anything of that sort. Down below the steering column, I normally don't talk about down here, but there is a button for the power top. So in order to fold the power top, you have to unhook it at the corners of the windshield like you would a Miata or modern Mustang, but then it is a power folding top the rest of the way. Very, very cool to see that, and it's cool to see that extra switch put in by the coach builders down on the steering column. And off to the left, we do have our climate control vent, headlight switches, fog light, and our Twilight Sentinel. Moving on to the door, we have our power locks and power windows, as well as power mirrors. But something interesting down here is because this was a convertible, they actually used the window switch panel from a 4-door vehicle, so then you could control the rear 2 little quarter windows. windows. The normal Eldorado in its hardtop configuration only had 2 windows, so it only had 2 window switches, so that was one of the modifications they had to make. Moving into the center, we get 2 climate control vents and the radio. The radio is quite dated at this point, of course. It does have a cassette player and favorites, tune and volume, and it does seem like it has a lot less going on than the radios of the 1980s from Cadillac, with all their different balancers and fades and things like that. This just has bass and treble, and you call it a night. Then I do have a pop-out ashtray and cigarette lighter. And moving down to the shifter, very typical shifter that we've seen in so many different Cadillacs over the years. There's a little button off to the right underneath. You pull that, put it into gear, and you're good to go. Then we do have heated seat options. Very, very nice to see that in 1995, even at a Cadillac still. Very cool to see. And then we have pop-out cup holders in the center console. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 1995 Cadillac Eldorado, and unfortunately, yet predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have the rest of the center armrest and the seats. Like I said, they are heated. They're also power, and they really, really help soak up the bumps as well. Very nice cruiser mentality in these seats, and I could sink into them pretty happily and get my full 8 hours. So you won't hear any complaints up here from me. However, speaking of seats, we do actually have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so getting in the back of the Eldorado convertible, which was never designed to be a convertible. So this is probably the easiest it has ever been to get in the back of one of these. You gotta go under the seat belt, and you can kind of stand up, luckily, because there's no roof. And now I'm down and back in. So once we are in the back seat of the Eldorado convertible, it's still a Cadillac, so the seats back here are very, very cushy, very comfortable. The driver and passenger could be a little bit nicer and move up, but I do have ashtrays back here, thank God. Little lights, things like that, but I really get to enjoy the open air experience. Let's hop out, let's talk about the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. So this is of the era where GM still gave you 2 keys. So this black square key is for the ignition, circle key is for the trunk. Even though they cut the roof off, they didn't change that. Popping the trunk open like that, and ladies and gentlemen, it's still a Cadillac through and through. But the biggest thing, you'll see this helps hold the convertible top, of course, but it doesn't eat up all of your trunk space. I can't tell you how many convertibles I've reviewed where when the top is down, you get no trunk space at all. This still is a Cadillac. You still have miles and miles and miles of trunk space to fit whatever whatever things you want in the back. That is very nice to see that they didn't compromise that just to give you the drop top experience. Still a big trunk, and we love to see it. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really, really like this really classy, dark burgundy style red. I love that paired with the tan interior. I think overall is a very, very luxurious looking car, especially for the era. If they released this today, I think there might be some styling issues, but for its time, I think it fit in really well, and it still is quite the looker. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a 1995 Cadillac Eldorado convertible? Well, the Eldorado's always been one of my favorite cars of this luxury era. I think they handle really mushy, which is what I want. I want a big, comfy boat car, and that's exactly what I get out of this. These cars have always been luxurious. The Eldorado is Cadillac in general is synonymous with luxury. They're one of the most prominent luxury brands ever, and definitely the most prominent to come out of Detroit. But then you cut the top off of one, and from what the owner was telling me, this car was $40,000 brand new, but the convertible top alone was an additional $15,000 for this option. It was a third of the price just to have them make this conversion. And so when you want to talk about big baller, you want to talk about luxury, you want to talk about bespoke, you're talking about the Eldorado convertible. Not many of these were made, and for good reason. They were expensive. So that's why I was so excited to share this one with you today. It is such an iconic piece of luxury vehicle history because it's not enough to have a Cadillac and be able to afford a Cadillac brand new. but to then order it and say, hey, I'll pay an extra 15 grand, again, in 1995 dollars, $15,000, to chop the roof off and push it that extra foot into the luxury world. And that's what I have here today. Very, very cool to see. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Mike, the retro realtor, for letting me take out his Eldorado convertible. Mike also has his own YouTube channel where he does some real estate stuff, he does some retro stuff, he does some car stuff. So please go check out his channel. If you want to see more information, a more in-depth walk around of this car, I'll link that in the description below as well. If you want to check out his video, I think it's very thorough if you want more information, but Mike has always been absolutely awesome to work with. This is my third car from him that I've filmed, and I have a feeling that I'll be back again soon. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.